Tonight is the biggest supermoon of the year, and here's what almost everyone gets wrong. If you commit this one mistake, everything could go downhill. Most people have no idea how easy it is to sabotage this energy without even realizing it. One wrong mindset, one rushed ritual, one careless emotional state, and instead of amplifying your momentum, the moon amplifies your chaos. Most people are already making the mistake that turns this supermoon from a breakthrough into a breakdown, and they won't even realize it until the energy hits them. So tonight isn't about doing more, it's about being awake while everyone else is performing spirituality, half asleep. And if that already hits different, good. Because there's one mistake almost nobody sees coming, and it's the one that turns this supermoon into a spiritual trap instead of a breakthrough. This isn't a casual moon. This is spiritual voltage. Most people are walking into this energy like it's just another full moon, and that's exactly how they lose the advantage. This isn't gentle lunar reflection. This is amplified frequency, the kind that doesn't tap you on the shoulder, it knocks hard. You can't approach a supermoon with the same mindset you use for any other lunar cycle. Tonight, everything is louder. Your intentions, your emotional tone, your internal truth. If you're coasting, if you're defaulting to routine, if you're thinking, I've done this 100 times before, you're already behind. There's a mistake almost nobody will admit, not out loud, not even to themselves. Some of you are secretly hoping that nothing changes. You want growth, sure, but only the kind that doesn't shake your world, disrupt your routine, or force you into the unknown. That silent wish for stability, that quiet hope that life stays familiar just a little longer. That is the biggest trap of this supermoon, because this moon doesn't reward comfort, it exposes it. The worst mistake tonight is resisting the momentum that's already trying to move you forward. You can light candles, meditate, journal, but if deep down you're choosing safety over expansion, the energy will stall. Not because you're failing, but because the universe doesn't force growth on someone who's holding the brakes. This supermoon amplifies whatever direction your spirit is leaning. If you lean into change, it accelerates it. If you lean into familiarity, it freezes you. And nothing feels heavier than a destiny you refuse to step into. Nothing holds you back more than pretending you're ready for change while praying your life stays the same. And here's the wild part. Some people don't even realize they're doing it. They call it patience. They call it timing. Sometimes they even call it faith. But really, it's hesitation wearing a spiritual mask. Tonight, the universe isn't asking if you're ready. It's asking if you're willing. And if that stirred something inside you, good. Because the next mistake isn't mental or emotional, it's instinctual. And most people never even think to watch for it. You're ignoring the most powerful signal this moon is sending you. Everyone talks about the supermoon, the brightness, the intensity, the energy. But almost no one talks about the Beaver moon, and that's where the real meaning sits. Beavers aren't mystical creatures floating through dimensions. They're builders, strategists, architects of their world. They don't wait for life to shift. They create the structure that guides the flow. They reinforce, they prepare, they anticipate. They build before the storm, not after. This moon isn't about wishing, hoping, or spiritually daydreaming your way into a new life. It's about sealing what's leaking, patching what's weak, strengthening what holds your stability, your identity, your peace. And here's the truth nobody says. If you try to manifest without securing your foundation, the very thing you call in will collapse on arrival. Not because you aren't blessed, but because blessings land on infrastructure, not fantasy. Manifestation isn't magic, it's momentum meeting preparation. The Beaver moon isn't romantic. It doesn't cater to ego or performance spirituality. It's raw, practical, rooted in survival instinct and higher planning. Right now, life is asking, where do you need reinforcement? What habits crack under pressure? What dream needs a real structure behind it, not just intention? This isn't the moon for floating into your future, it's the moon for building the bridge to it. And if you understand that, then you're already ahead of 95% of people watching the sky tonight. Because we're about to move into the energy nobody sees coming, the instinctual shift that separates those who evolve from those who repeat cycles. You're not supposed to feel this way right now, but you need to. There is one emotion almost every spiritual person tries to avoid during powerful moon phases, not because it's wrong, but because we've been conditioned to think it makes us spiritually less evolved. That emotion is envy. Yes, envy. Not the superficial, petty kind, where you resent someone just for existing. I'm talking about that sudden sting you feel when someone else steps into something you secretly want. The job you told yourself you weren't ready for, the relationship you pretend you're not thinking about, the lifestyle you whisper to yourself you'll have one day. That feeling? Most people try to bury it, meditate it away, mask it with fake gratitude or forced positivity. But this supermoon isn't magnifying envy to punish you, it's highlighting desire you've been afraid to admit. Envy, when it shows up in moments like this, isn't jealousy, it's direction. It reveals what you deeply crave, but haven't allowed yourself to pursue. Spiritual culture often teaches that wanting more is ego, that you need to be endlessly content where you are, that you shouldn't compare yourself to others. But let's be brutally honest. Sometimes you don't evolve until something or someone forces you to confront your own hunger. And tonight, if you feel that internal pull, if you see someone living a life that triggers something deep in you, instead of shaming yourself, ask, why did that hit me? What part of me is starving for the same thing? Because if you numb envy, you numb ambition. And if you numb ambition, you stay exactly where you are while calling it alignment. Envy isn't a flaw, it's a compass pointing toward your unrealized potential. So tonight, when that emotion rises, don't drown it in fake peace. Don't spiritualize your way around it. Let it speak, let it burn a little, and then turn that burn into movement. This moon didn't come to make you polite. It came to make you honest. You're not here to pretend you don't want more. You're here to finally admit that you do. And the people who dare to be honest about their desires are the ones who break stagnation under moons like this. Now that you've faced what you feel, we need to talk about something else. Something that traps more spiritual people on nights like this than anything else. And most won't even realize they're falling for it. You're being spiritually baited by the moon's spotlight. When energy gets loud, people start performing. The collective excitement rises. Everyone starts talking about manifestation portals, moon water, rituals, raising frequency, and suddenly spirituality becomes a stage instead of a journey. It's so easy to get swept into the collective current and think, I should be doing more right now. But what if doing more is the exact thing that disconnects you from what this moon is actually trying to give you? This is the biggest supermoon of the year, and for many the pressure isn't to transform, it's to appear like they're transforming. Posting affirmations, showing off rituals, proving they're aligned. And here's the truth most won't say. Some people are not trying to connect to the moon. They're trying to convince themselves they're in tune because everyone else is. That's not spiritual alignment, That's collective hypnosis. The real danger tonight isn't missing the energy, it's copying someone else's relationship to it. Because when you chase the performance of growth instead of the feeling of growth, you disconnect from your own path and end up running in circles spiritually. This moon isn't a spotlight for your identity, it's a mirror for your truth. And mirrors don't need crowds, hashtags, or rituals performed out of fear of not doing enough. They need honesty, quiet internal clarity, not theatrics. Spiritual power isn't in what you show, it's in what you face when no one's watching. Only a few people will do the courageous thing tonight. They'll sit with themselves, they'll listen instead of chase, they'll feel instead of perform. They'll let the moon illuminate what they didn't want to see, not what they wanted to post. Say less, do less, show less, breathe, observe, feel. Let the moon do the talking this time. When you stop performing, you stop pretending. And when you stop pretending, the truth finally reaches you. The energy doesn't respond to your act. It responds to your intention. A night like this brings intensity. You can feel it, not just in the sky, but in how people suddenly become more visibly spiritual, almost like they're auditioning for the cosmos. You'll see people acting calm when they're anxious, posting affirmations even though they're doubting themselves, doing elaborate rituals not because they feel called, but because they feel watched, even if no one's in the room. That's the trap, thinking the universe is grading your performance instead of reading your energy. Supermoons don't amplify your spiritual image. They amplify who you really are underneath it. So if someone is trying to act like they've outgrown their fears, but inside, they're panicking about where life is heading, the moon magnifies the panic, not the performance. If someone acts grateful while quietly resenting how long their breakthrough is taking, the moon magnifies the resentment, not the pretending. And it's not because the universe is cruel. It's because energy responds to truth, not presentation. This is where many spiritual people sabotage themselves. They chase appearing aligned instead of actually aligning. They light candles to look connected, not to feel connection. They try to impress the universe with clarity they haven't earned yet, thinking they must be polished and peaceful to receive blessings. But the universe doesn't reward costumes. It rewards courage, even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you don't have everything figured out yet. Tonight isn't the night for a spiritual performance. It's for honesty that's so raw it almost feels uncomfortable to sit with. If you're anxious, admit it. If you're excited, own it. If you don't know what you want yet, say so. Real alignment doesn't come from trying to look divine. It comes from being real enough to be seen by your own soul first. Pretending you're healed blocks the very healing you're craving. Let the moon see you, not your spiritual mask. Because the people who grow tonight are not the ones who shine the brightest publicly. They're the ones who sit with their truth privately and refuse to fake clarity just to feel spiritual. And once you drop the performance, something powerful happens. You stop trying to impress the universe and start letting it move through you instead. Now that we've stripped away performance, we need to confront something else. The urgent pressure that many people feel right now, the belief that if they don't do something tonight, they'll somehow miss their moment. And that pressure can completely derail your connection to this energy if you're not careful. This moon is loud, but the guidance is in the silence. Whenever a major energetic moment happens, there's this wave of urgency that sweeps through the collective. People feel like they have to participate. They have to do something. They have to channel the energy or else they'll fall behind spiritually. That restless feeling like you need to make a move, write intentions, meditate for hours, stay awake until midnight, not because your soul asked, but because you're afraid that if you don't, the universe will pass you by. But this supermoon isn't a train leaving the station. It's not going to vanish if you don't chase it. When you act from fear of missing out, you disconnect from authenticity and slip into panic-driven spirituality. And panic energy never leads to clarity. It leads to self-doubt, overthinking, and a feeling of always being one step behind your destiny. Ironically, the harder you try to catch the energy, the more you block it. Because moon energy doesn't arrive through frantic effort. It arrives through alignment with your natural timing, your internal rhythm, your intuition. One of the most overlooked spiritual truths is this: sometimes your biggest leap forward comes from doing nothing at all. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do on a night like this is to sit still, breathe, and trust that you don't need to chase energy that is already here. You don't need to witness the moon to be affected by it. You don't need to perform spirituality to receive transformation. And you don't need to force a breakthrough. Breakthroughs arrive when space exists to receive them. We're conditioned to think activation always looks like action, like movement, like intensity. But moon cycles aren't always about doing. Some are about surrendering, observing, letting things land in silence instead of trying to force meaning into every moment. Sometimes your power isn't in what you do under the moon. It's in what you refuse to chase. Let this moon meet you where you are, instead of dragging yourself towards some ideal version of how you're supposed to show up tonight. If you're called to act, act. If you're called to be still, honor that too. You don't miss energy by resting, you miss it by abandoning your inner guidance, just because everyone else looks like they're in motion. There's a mistake that looks noble on the surface, but quietly drains your power more than anything else during a supermoon, especially one with energy this amplified. Trying to save someone else while you're still stabilizing your own frequency. This is one of the most subtle traps spiritual people fall into. Because the moment energy intensifies, their instinct is to guide, protect, fix, support, uplift everyone around them. They feel responsible for how the people they love are handling their emotions, their decisions, their shadows. And it sounds compassionate, but under this kind of moon, that behavior doesn't elevate you, it empties you. This moment isn't about being someone else's healer. It's about letting them meet their moment without you shielding them from it. When you intervene in someone's emotional process because you can't bear to see them struggle, you don't save them. You interrupt their transformation. And this moon is too powerful, too precise for interference like that. People are meant to face themselves right now. They are meant to sit in discomfort so they can understand what they truly need to evolve. If you jump in, if you soften the lesson, you rob them of clarity, and you rob yourself of alignment. And on a night like this, your energy is amplified. That means pouring it into someone who isn't ready to rise with you doesn't elevate them, it pulls you down. It turns you into an emotional anchor instead of a lighthouse. You can't be the light and the life raft at the same time. This moon isn't asking you to be a savior, it's asking you to be sovereign. Supporting someone is love. Saving them is control disguised as compassion. If you feel that urge to rescue someone tonight, pause. Ask yourself whether it's truly about love or whether you're trying to avoid the discomfort of watching them go through something you survived. Because sometimes the most powerful support you can give is stepping back and trusting the universe to guide them. Honor your frequency first. Let others rise on their own timing. Your evolution doesn't require you to carry anyone, and theirs won't unfold if you do. When you stop trying to fix others under this moon, something unexpected happens. You realize how much energy you've been leaking into situations that were never yours to repair. And once you reclaim that power, you begin to feel a new internal steadiness forming, which brings us straight into the next mistake, one that separates those who truly upgrade from those who snap right back into the life they swore they were done with. Powerful moons don't just change you in the moment, they test you afterwards. People make the mistake of thinking the ritual, the journaling, the meditation, or the intention is the shift. But the real shift shows up after the peak. It's in the moment when life goes back to normal and you're confronted with the same people, same temptations, same habits, same emotional triggers that existed before the moon rose. And that's where most people fail. They declare alignment one night, and within days, they slide right back into the identity they promised they were done with. The universe doesn't test you to punish you. It tests you to see if you're now strong enough to choose differently. Because every breakthrough has a back door, and old habits are always waiting by it. That old version of you doesn't let go quietly. It whispers, it tempts, it tries to convince you nothing really changed. And if you aren't conscious, you slip right back, because comfort feels easier than evolution. This is where you have to pay attention. When that familiar pattern shows up, the one you swore you wouldn't repeat, don't treat it as failure. Treat it as confirmation. The presence of the trigger means the transformation is happening. You're not going backwards. You're being asked to prove you're truly ready to move forward. And every time you choose differently, even if it's subtle, you carve a new path that becomes stronger than the old one. Transformation isn't a moment. It's the repetition of a new truth until the old identity has nowhere left to return to. Don't rush back to who you were last week just because it feels easier. Don't shrink into old behaviors simply because the world didn't immediately match your new vibration. The test after the moon is where the future version of you earns its stability. And honestly, most people never get past that phase. They say they're ready for change, but they fold the second life asks them to prove it. But if you hold your ground, if you stay aware, steady, and present in your choices, the shifts you made under this moon won't fade. They will root. They will solidify. And that's when you stop evolving in cycles and start evolving in directions, forward, upward, unapologetically. Because after this moon, life isn't watching your ritual, it's watching your follow-through. And the ones who rise now are the ones who refuse to return to a version of themselves they've already outgrown. There's something people don't understand about powerful moons, especially a supermoon like this one. They don't just amplify intentions, they amplify your internal broadcast. Whatever signal you're putting out, consciously or subconsciously, becomes louder. And that sounds beautiful when you imagine yourself aligned, calm, and focused. But most people aren't broadcasting clarity, they're broadcasting noise, worry, self-doubt, overthinking, emotional static that they try to drown with spiritual routines instead of actually facing it. This is not the night to be chaotic on the inside while pretending you're centered on the outside. The moon doesn't respond to masks. It responds to frequency. If you are running scattered mentally, if you're jumping between desires, second-guessing your path, convincing yourself you're fine while you're actually anxious, that is the signal the moon magnifies. Not your scripts, not your rituals, not your vision board. The truth inside you, whatever it currently is, that's what rises. And this is where people get confused. They think avoiding their feelings protects them. They push discomfort down, tighten their chest, breathe slowly, try to look peaceful to match the energy. But suppression isn't peace. And during a supermoon, suppression becomes turbulence. The more you hide from yourself, the louder your energy becomes, not in the world, but inside your own emotional space. The anxious thoughts echo. The doubts bounce back. The energy doesn't calm. It reverberates. That's why, tonight, presence matters more than perfection. If you feel scattered, don't pretend you're centered. Sit with what's real and breathe yourself back into clarity. If you feel uncertain, acknowledge it and allow the feeling to settle instead of forcing confidence you don't yet feel. The calm that's manufactured breaks under this moon. The calm that's earned expands. You can't command clarity while broadcasting confusion. Clear your frequency, not by forcing positivity, but by quieting the inner noise. Slow your thoughts, release the rush. Stop trying to be aligned and simply be honest. When you drop resistance, the turbulence fades. When you stop performing peace, peace actually has room to enter. This moon doesn't demand perfection, it demands truth. And once you land in truth, the energy can work with you, not against you. Because now, you're prepared for the final lesson of this supermoon, the one that determines whether this energy lifts you or leaves you right where you were before it rose. The energy you chase will reject you. The energy you become will find you. There is a desperation that sneaks into spiritual practice, especially on powerful nights like this. People feel the magnitude of the energy and think, I need to make something happen. They start chasing signs, forcing breakthroughs, begging the universe for answers, opportunities, love, clarity, anything that confirms their path is unfolding. But nothing blocks energy faster than desperation disguised as devotion. This moon does not reward frantic desire. It rewards embodied certainty. If you are chasing outcomes, you're telling the universe you don't actually trust your timing. If you're begging for alignment, you're telling the universe you don't believe you're aligned already. And if you force manifestations, you're not manifesting, you're fighting yourself. This moon doesn't amplify force, it amplifies frequency. And here's what most people forget. Desire isn't enough. Wanting something intensely doesn't attract it. Becoming the version of yourself who can hold it does. When you become the person who belongs in the life you want, the life comes toward you naturally. You don't have to chase what's already coded in your timeline. You simply move into the version of you that can receive it. Manifestation isn't pursuit, it's permission. So tonight isn't about scrambling to call things in. It's about aligning so deeply with who you're becoming that your desires have no choice but to recognize you. Stop reaching outward, rise inward. Anchor into the frequency of the life you want rather than begging it to arrive. This isn't a moon for grasping, it's a moon for grounding, for choosing yourself so fully that the universe has to respond. Chasing what you're not ready for leads to energetic rejection, not because you're not worthy, but because the universe protects what isn't yet stable inside you. But when you become undeniable in your identity, your clarity, your internal signal, what's meant for you doesn't run. It gravitates. It locks in. It chooses you back without effort or strain. Tonight, don't get on your knees for the moon. Stand in front of it like someone who finally remembers who they are. Don't beg for signs. Recognize you are the sign. Don't try to force timing. Become the person who time bends for. Tonight, don't ask the moon to change your life. Ask yourself if you're ready to let it, Because the moment you stop chasing and start becoming, the shift you've been asking for no longer feels distant. It starts unfolding as who you already are. If you're still watching, I'd like to thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed the content and want to see more, please consider clicking the subscribe button. Your support is very appreciated. Feel free to share your experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care and subscribe for more insightful content.